There's a moment, quiet at first, then impossible to ignore, when the glow around something once sacred starts to fade. We keep telling ourselves that luxury is timeless, that heritage equals trust, that price equals value. But every day more people are walking away, not in a whisper, in a movement. And the question is not petty. Is luxury itself a lie we have been bought into? When I say walking away, I don't mean a fashion headline, I mean a real cultural shift. People who once queued for hour-long store openings now buy second-hand with confidence. Young professionals who once hoarded logos now favor provenance, ethics, and something quieter, integrity. This video is about why that's happening. Honestly, deeply, and without nostalgia-drenched rose-colored glasses. Luxury used to mean three things at once: extraordinary craft, a story that anchored things in time, and a system of scarcity. Not everyone could have it, therefore it mattered. That contract between maker and buyer used to be implicit. You bought an atelier's work and you accepted its values. You believed that a leather stitch carried decades of savoir-faire. That belief is fracturing. Let's start with the obvious. Price. Over the last decade, price climbed faster than many incomes. A handbag that once signaled quiet elegance now sometimes feels like a financial ritual. A transaction that asks you to surrender common sense for status. And status is volatile. The old idea that a single purchase grants social elevation is losing credibility. When price becomes spectacle rather than marker of craft, consumers begin to ask, what am I actually buying? Price inflates the spotlight on quality. When wallets open wider, expectations become merciless. Buyers want flawless materials, meticulous finishing, service that matches the cost. But when parcels arrive with loose threads, uneven stitching, or an underwhelming lining, that cognitive dissonance sinks in. Why is this so expensive? Social media amplified those moments. A video showing a poorly finished bag becomes viral proof, not aberration. The perception that price no longer reliably equates to quality is a slow-burning betrayal. Then there is ethics. Supply chains that were once invisible are now visible. Where leather is sourced, how factories treat workers, whether brands transparently police subcontracting, all of these matters. Consumers are more literate about the true cost of fashion. Scandals, environmental concerns, and the realization that luxury sometimes externalizes harm have pushed people away. For many, prestige meant beauty. Now it must also mean responsibility. Scandals are the accelerant. Whether the headline is a store insider abusing privilege, a brand quietly outsourcing craft to unknown suppliers, or an executive mishandling accountability, these events are not isolated. They expose a systemic fragility, an industry built on mystique that depends, paradoxically, on trust. Once trust fractures, scarcity becomes empty theatre. People do not simply reject a product, they reject the narrative that justified the price. Psychology explains the scale of this reaction. Luxury historically promised two things: belonging and self-differentiation. It offered a backstage pass to an elevated tribe while also promising an identity, a subtle signal that you belonged to a certain class or that you had taste. Today's consumers, especially younger buyers, want authenticity and alignment. They measure brands against their own values. A bag that once conferred status now risks being a symbol of complicity if the brand's actions do not match its rhetoric. Social media both created and dissolved the idea of aspirational luxury. It democratized access to imagery, made craftsmanship discoverable, and revealed the human faces behind factories and boutiques. Influencer culture amplified desire, and then, when influencers reveal problems or pivot tastes, it accelerates disillusionment. The same network that made luxury accessible also makes its weaknesses impossible to hide. But let's hear the other side. Brands are not blind. Many are recalibrating, reasserting craft, doubling down on traceability, investing in aftercare and repair, and rethinking pricing strategies. Some are experimenting with tiered offerings, a core artisanal line at the heart of the maison, and more accessible capsules to fund growth. Creative directors are being changed not just for creative refresh, but to chase new consumer languages. Those moves are strategic and sometimes necessary, but they carry risk. When a brand stretches to chase trends or scale too fast, it can sever the link to its heritage, the very reason collectors valued it in the first place. We need to separate two groups of buyers to understand where this shift matters most. First, The traditional collector, someone who values provenance, who understands acquisition rituals, who trusts boutique relationships and the social architecture of waiting lists. For them, trust is everything. Scandals erode that trust and threaten resale values. Second, the aspirational consumer, someone who is buying meaning and story in the moment. They are nimble, influenced by platforms and peer communities, and less loyal if a brand disappoints. Resale culture complicates the story. A vibrant second-hand market both exposes and rescues the industry. It exposes overproduction and the true life cycle of a product. It rescues heritage by keeping pieces in circulation and proving that craftsmanship endures. Many shoppers now prefer to buy pre-owned. It can be cheaper, it can be greener, it can feel smarter. That's not the death of luxury. It's the redefinition of where value lives. So what does all this mean for brands? Fundamentally, the era of unquestioned pricing and unquestioned purchase is over. Brands must prove worth at every touch point, in materials, in worker welfare, in transparency, in consistent craft, and in the real aftercare they offer. Those that cling to image without accountability will find an audience that shrugs and walks away. Those that rebuild trust, quietly, rigorously, and honestly, can survive and even thrive in this new economy. For the consumer, the question becomes how to navigate a landscape where marketing is louder than ever and trust is measured in actions. Look for concrete signals, documented provenance, visible supply chain practices, robust repair policies, and honest third-party reporting. Ask boutiques questions about sourcing and production. Use the secondary market to verify that a brand's work ages well. Don't mistake hype for heritage. This moment also invites a gentler idea: style without servitude. You can be elegant without pledging allegiance to an industry that disappoints you. Curate pieces that tell a story about you, not just about status. Invest in fewer items that fit your life beautifully. Learn care and repair. Celebrate independent makers who put craft before show. We must also say something about the cultural hunger that made luxury so powerful in the first place. For many, buying luxury was about meaning, about entering a lineage of taste. That hunger remains. What is changing is where meaning is found. People now invest that hunger in values, in transparency, in communities. Brands that can mirror that shift without performing virtue will be rewarded. There are no neat endings here. Some houses will adapt and deepen. Others will be reshaped or vanish. The market will reorganize around credibility and purpose. And the most interesting part, consumers now hold the power they always wanted: to demand better, to reward honesty, and to choose brands that speak to what they value. If there is a final thought, it is this: luxury will not die because price goes up or because a scandal breaks. Luxury evolves when it listens. The question is whether brands will continue to sell an idea out of habit, or whether they will earn their place again by proving they deserve it. This is not nostalgia. This is accountability. This is a new contract between maker and buyer, one written in transparency, repair, quality, and ethics. For those of us who love fashion, that change is not loss. It is an invitation to care more, choose better, and make the language of luxury finally mean what it once promised. Do you still believe in luxury? Tell me why, and which brand you think is doing it right. Because maybe that's the real heart of this conversation. Not that luxury is dying, but that it's being unmasked. The fantasy no longer works unless it has substance behind it. The buyers of today are not dreamers without discernment. They are thinkers, researchers, and storytellers in their own right. They don't just wear luxury, they question it. They compare, they verify, they remember. And that memory has power. We've entered a time where silence from a brand speaks louder than its campaigns. When a scandal hits, people expect acknowledgement, not avoidance. When prices rise, they expect justification rooted in craft, not marketing poetry. And when brands talk about values, people look for proof, not slogans. The ones that survive will be those that can withstand transparency because they have nothing to hide. Luxury at its best is not just about cost, it's about a feeling. The quiet pride of knowing something was made beautifully, responsibly, and with purpose. That's what people are searching for again. The world doesn't need more things, it needs meaning. And meaning, unlike logos, can't be manufactured overnight. Maybe this isn't the end of luxury, maybe it's the end of illusion. Maybe we are walking away not from beauty, but from pretense, from the idea that aspiration must always mean excess, from believing that exclusivity defines worth. What's replacing it is something deeper: conscious elegance, knowledge, integrity, intention. And perhaps that's where fashion is heading, back to the reason we fell in love with it in the first place. Not for validation, but for artistry. Not to show off, but to express. Not to own everything, but to understand what truly matters. If you're still watching this, you're probably one of those people who cares about fashion in its truest form, the kind that respects craft, culture, and consciousness all at once. That's the kind of future we want to build here. A fashion world that's intelligent, self-aware, and emotionally awake, where beauty doesn't exploit but enlightens. Because in the end, the real luxury isn't what's on the receipt. It's knowing why you chose it and what your choice says about the kind of world you want to live in.